Hey friends, I just finished reading my 100th book on productivity and time management. And it turns out across all these books, there's only really 10 key principles that are prevalent in every single one. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about the 10 principles and 10 tips that I've incorporated into my life to make it highly efficient and increase my time management skills. I hope they can do the same for you. Let's get started. Tip number one, we absolutely own all of our time. Now, this is really like a big one. I used to always think, yeah, I don't have enough time for that. How am I supposed to fit that in my schedule? But there's this really good quote from Dr. Robert Anthony in his book, Beyond Positive Thinking, that says, at any given moment, we are doing exactly what we want to be doing during that time. This was really empowering for me because I realized that my time is entirely within my control. Like right now, I'm choosing to make this YouTube video because that's what I want to be doing with my time. Earlier today, I spent about 6 hours watching NFL Sunday Football because that's what I wanted to do with my time. And I think sometimes it's really easy for us to give ourselves an out like, yeah, I couldn't go to the gym because I didn't have enough time today. If you didn't have enough time that day to do that thing, that's probably because you just weren't making that thing a priority. And that's really eye-opening when we're looking at my time is within my control and I can choose what I put in that time period. Now, yes, you might have a boss or a parent or family members telling you what you should be doing with your time, but fundamentally, we're in control of our time. And I think if you understand that tip, these next 9 tips will really change your life. Tip number 2, the 80-20 principle. Now, the 80-20 principle is the most life-changing process that I put into my life. Now, this book is by Richard Koch. There's multiple versions of the 80-20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle. This book was given to me by the CEO in my very first day of my real first career job. And essentially, it shows that 80% of outcomes are driven by 20% of actions. So when you think about that, right, 80% of books sold across the globe are only from 20% of the authors, because those authors sell the most books. Same thing like home runs hit or hockey goals scored. 80% of hockey goals scored are by the top 20% of goal scorers. And that's really crazy. So looking at this whole thing in our lives, 80% of the things that bring us fulfillment, happiness, success, money, whatever you're striving to get to, is from only 20% of our actions. And the 80-20 principle is about prioritizing that 20%. This book is awesome. So how you can incorporate this in your day-to-day is, let's say you have a to-do list for the day and you just start writing out all your things you have to do. And there's about, let's say, 20 items on that to-do list. Well, I want you to look at that list and take the number one most important thing for you to do that day for the betterment of your life. So pick that number one thing. Then pick your number 2 thing, number 3, and keep doing this process until you reach about 20% of your list. So 20% of 20 is 4 items. So we're gonna pick our top 4 things that we have to do today, that we want to do today with our time. And what you're gonna find is when you consistently day over day allocate your time to the best top 20 things for your life, the outcomes are dramatically successful if you make this a routine thing that you consistently do. What it really helps us do is to stay laser focused on the things that are important in life for us to be doing, and helps us not really spend any time on things that I would call them clutter, right? Extra things that, yeah, we have to do, but they're not really that important. Let's just put those to the side for a moment. Focus on your top 20 most important actions. And this is gonna bring us to tip number 3, clear the clutter days. Now, clear the clutter is probably one of the funniest tips we're going to talk about, and is one that I do every Sunday, but it's something that you can do any day of the week that you choose. What I want you to do is all the actions that don't fall into your top 20% of actions, just put on another list, put on the back burner, and don't touch these things until one day of the week. Most of these things end up being things like going grocery shopping, paying bills, folding laundry, things that I would call necessary evils, right? They're things that we have to do in our life and in our day to day, but they're not really a thing that is gonna help us be a better person tomorrow. It's just things that we have to do every day. So I kind of let these things pile up. And then one day a week, I have a clear the clutter day where I go through and try to knock out as many of these as possible. And what you'll find is you become really efficient in knocking out these things. Because let's say you normally would go to the store 3 times to get groceries for the week. Well, now you go one time and you knock them all out on that one clear the clutter day. If you're paying bills, rather than logging onto your computer 5 times, you pick one day, you let them add up, and you pay them all at once. And what this really helps you do is throughout the week, you can focus on those 80-20 principles, which are the core things that you're really meant to be doing. So incorporate clear the clutter days into your day-to-day. Plus, it's really fun to say. Tip number 4 for time management is to use a to-do list. So today I use this little wooden to-do list. It's super simple. So every morning I wake up and I have these little cards and I write on them my 4 key principles, or my 4 80-20 principles that I'm meant to be doing that day. And what's really cool is it's not only a visual representation of everything I have to do, but it's right in front of my face, so I stay focused. And then when I'm looking at it, it's kind of really satisfying every now and then to see your progress and start working down the list and crossing something off. There's just something really satisfying about crossing things off a list. Now, you don't have to use this stand. You can use a notepad or whiteboard or whatever you like. I personally just like this one because it's right in front of my face every single day. The other thing that we took away from a very important book is from David Allen's Get Things Done. And it essentially talks about that our brain is made to generate ideas, not store ideas. And I find most of the time when I'm looking at things that I kind of fell through with and didn't really do on my day-to-day like I was supposed to, isn't because I didn't want to do those things, but it's because I forgot, right? So making a physical to-do list dramatically make sure that you don't lose track of anything and make sure that everything stays on your radar. These days, I carry around just a little pocket-sized black book. It has a nice little pen holder. See, I can't even get it out, but oh my gosh, that is crazy. Guys, there you go. This nice little pen holder. And it's a pocket size, and I carry it around just in my back pocket. You have your wallet in one, you have your small black book in the other one. And this really helps if you're out and about and you have things that come across your mind that you should be doing or things that you commit to. You just write it down in your little black book and make sure that they're prioritized and that you don't forget about them. The benefit of doing that is I then take that book every morning and I look at what those 80-20 best practice, best principles are gonna be, and I transfer them onto my physical to-do list for the day and let the other ones add up for my clear the clutter days. And this is gonna move us on to tip number 5, time blocking. Now, time blocking is a process that's fairly common. It's been used by some huge individuals like Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. And it's essentially anytime you set up time for an activity and you know that you're going to do that thing, you look and set a certain hour range for that thing. So let's say we're looking at our 80-20 principles, and my 4 things are to record this video, go to the gym, read a book, and clean my house. I write down the hours of the day that I'm planning on doing that thing. So one might be from 2 to 3, one might be from 3 to 4, next one 4 to 6. And let's say I'm gonna clean my house from 6 until 7. And what you'll find by time blocking is it's not only incredibly helpful to stay focused, because you know you allocated your time for that specific thing and nothing else should distract you from that thing. You should put your phone in the other room and you should just focus on that activity that you set up for yourself. But when you don't do that, let's say for instance, my last thing was to clean the house and I was supposed to clean the house at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. But let's say I had all day to clean the house, 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock when I went to sleep. You'll find that you'll spend 4 hours cleaning the house. You'll clean a little bit of one room, then you'll go on your phone, then you'll go to the next room, clean a little bit, and you might call your friend and you're going back and forth. And a 1-hour task took the time length of 4 hours because you didn't time block it. So time blocking is incredibly helpful to stay focused. So once you get your 80-20 principles and you have it on your to-do list, add a time to those things and make sure you knock them out within that time frame. Plus, even if you don't, it's a little fun to kind of compete against the clock, and you can make a little game out of it. So that's a good one to incorporate. Tip number 6 is actually one that I just started incorporating this year, and it's protective time. So if you're watching this video, you're obviously somewhat time conscientious. The benefit of that is you get a lot of things done. The con of that is you often can overbook yourself and you don't end up having any alone time or time just for you or time that you don't have allocated to something. So I like to incorporate this thing called protective time. It's a different time slot throughout the day that I don't have anything scheduled, and it's kind of like a free zone. Doesn't mean I can't do anything during that time frame. It's just I don't plan anything to get done during that time frame. So I realized for me, the best time of day for this is the morning. So in the morning, I have 3 allocated hours that nothing is on my calendar. And during this time, I can do things like go for a walk or stretch before I start the day. You know, so many times you have your first thing start right at the beginning of the day and you wake up and you shower and you brush your teeth and you leave. And you don't really have time to be you, right? So mine being in the morning really helps that. And you can read a book, you can relax, and it really helps get your mental frame right to have a productive rest of the day. I normally thought like, hey, I'm allocating all this time to my protective time. I'm not gonna be able to get this much done elsewhere. And what I realized is a body in motion stays in motion. And the way I keep my body in motion is by taking care of it. So allocate protective time for yourself. You'll be happy you do so. And it really dramatically helps your livelihood and your day to day. Tip number 7, learn to delegate. Now, delegate. Ooh, right? That word has a dangerous connotation with it, right? Often we look at the words delegate and I normally think 3 things immediately. Like, why should I be delegating things? Isn't there time worth time too? Isn't there time valuable, right? The second one is, I can't delegate that. No one else knows how to do it. And the third one, which is probably the most common, is I can't delegate that. I can't afford to delegate that. But there's this really good quote from Greg McDone in his book, The Discipline of Less. Of the books that I've read, this is definitely my top 10 favorite productivity books. But he challenges us to figure out what is the value of your time. So if you look at it, of my day today, what is the dollar value of 1 hour of my time? And the goal is kind of to outsource anything that is worth less than the cost of your time. So I kind of, through reading this book, realized that my time, subjectively to me, is worth about $25 an hour. So let's take something as simple as editing this YouTube video. This YouTube video would take me about 20 hours to edit. I'm not a great editor. I was never good at it. And a cost of $25 an hour for 20 hours makes producing this video cost me $500 of my own time. Now, on the contrary, you can go to a freelancing website like Upwork or Fiverr, which is where people can go and post their skills and see how they match up with clients who need those skills. And they're not a sponsor, just something that I use. And you can use these resources of other people that they produce a bid that's good for them, worth their time, and see if you can outsource that part of your life. So for instance, I have 2 video editors for the channel. Both are at $10 an hour. And not only are they at $10 an hour, but they're much better and faster at editing videos than I am. So it only takes them 15 hours to edit a video. So now my cost went from $500 of my time to $150. And so now these are things that I can outsource. Now, maybe you don't run a business and you're like, Joe, this is stupid. How does this relate to me? There are things like those necessary evils that you can see, is it really worth your time to do? For instance, some of those things might be grocery shopping. Is it worth my time to go get groceries, or should I have someone else pick up and deliver my groceries? Some of those things could be cleaning the house, mowing the lawn. And you're starting to get the idea that there are things that if you find yourself not with enough time, delegating and outsourcing is a huge thing that you can incorporate. Plus, through delegating on the YouTube channel, we now have 3 employees, a thumbnail designer, and 2 editors, and they all became really good friends, and we kind of support each other back and forth. It really ends out working out, and you make new friends because of it. Tip number 8 is automate routine tasks. So when you look at your day, there's often things that you do every single day, like set an alarm daily, maybe put on the news daily, send texts, phone calls, emails daily. These are the same things that you do every day. And to be honest, they don't really require a human decision. So we're not going to spend too much talking about all of these, but I'll put a link on one of these 2 sides. We have a bunch of different AI tools on the channel, about 20 of them, that help you go through how to automate different parts of your life, whether it's the work part of your life or whether it is your home life and things like that. And these AI tools can dramatically speed up the amount of time that it takes you to do routine tasks. So I would check those out. But automating routine tasks that don't require a human decision, just require your time, why not have something else do that thing? So that's the principle around that one. We're going to move on to number 9, which is automate scheduling. Now, this one has been really big, especially after like COVID and work from home happened, and it kind of grew and grew, and everyone ended up doing this virtual thing, right? And what I found is I spend so much time scheduling my day, and more importantly, scheduling time with other people. So normally, if we want to do something, I'd reach out and say, hey friend, do you want to go to the gym or go to this sporting event or do something like that? And are you free on this time? And you have to go through and say, no, I'm not free on this time, Joe, but I'm free here. And we go back and forth. Sometimes there's days in between, and it takes 3 days to plan something for us both to do. So I started using Calendly. Calendly is not a sponsor in this video. They have a paid version and a free version. I use the free version. It's plenty good enough, but essentially I load my calendar into that, and then I allow people to kind of book time on my schedule. Now, this might seem a little weird to you at first, right? Like sending your friend a link and being like, yeah, man, just book something on my calendar. But what I realized is we actually end up hanging out way more. One, because they have the flexibility to choose a time that best works for them that we might have not mentioned initially. And two, it saves us both time where we end up doing more things together. This really became apparent from one of my favorite books, Eat That Frog, which is from Brian Tracy. It goes through 21 ways to not procrastinate and do more with less time. And automating and scheduling is a good one. There's other 20 good principles in there. I would recommend reading that book. But we're gonna move on to my last and final tip number 10. Tip number 10 goes back to the emotional side just a little bit. So when you're looking at being productive and doing the most with your time, it's really easy to get to the end of the day and not to be satisfied with yourself. Like for instance, right now I'm choosing to make this video and I could be like, yeah, I got one video done. But what if I could have done 3 videos or 4 videos? And you find yourself being your own biggest internal critic. I believe we're all our own biggest internal critic. And what I found is if I stress over whether I'm satisfied or not, it doesn't magically help me get more things done. You know, my favorite productivity book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This book is the #1 grossing seller of self-help books and productivity books. It's the first one I read, ironically. I was studying abroad and it was the only book in English. So it's the one that I chose to read initially, but it really, really changed my life. And it kind of helps us frame that mentality of like, being okay with what we've done for the day and choosing to be okay with it. So I challenge you that when you end the day and you're in that mindset, recognize that you're better today than you were when you woke up. And if you keep making that progress, who cares how far the progress goes? Just keep making progress. And those, friends, are our top 10 tips for effective time management and productivity skills. I hope you found value out of this. If so, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps the channel and helps us grow together. And if you want to grow together, press that little subscribe button. It helps you join the startup squad and it helps us really become better versions of ourselves. So hit that button, join the team. Comment in the description, maybe what is your favorite personal development, productivity, time management, self-help book. Maybe we can all learn a little bit from that. As all things small business, start small, start today. My name's Joe Zeppelin, and I'll see you soon, friends. Have fun.